Sometimes I'll hear people say that their jog wheels spin differently. Like you can see here, this one spins freely, whereas this one is a little tighter and doesn't spin as well. The other side of that is that sometimes the jog wheel will be loose and will wobble a little bit. Well, there's a collar inside here on the post that the jog wheel spins on that can slide up and down, and you can adjust that to adjust the tension and how well these jog wheels spin. Now, it's worth noting that sometimes if you have a loose jog wheel or it spins really well, that you can tighten these 3 screws on the top here and that'll fix it. Sometimes though that doesn't work, and what you have to do is get inside here and take it apart, and you can adjust that collar. Now all you need to do is remove these 3 screws and then the 4 screws holding the jog wheel assembly in. Okay, I want to slide this a little bit and get a fingernail underneath it and lift straight up on the metal plate. Okay, and your spring is in here. Now you can lift up on this to pick the whole assembly up like that, but there's a hole that goes all the way through, so there's a chance that spring could fall out. So just to be safe, I remove it all separately. Next, you'll take these 4 screws out, and the jog wheel assembly will drop down a little bit, and that's fine because we're going to take the back off and get to that way. Okay, now there's a lot of real thin wires in here and you don't have a whole lot of room to play, so I just am real careful, move it slowly so you don't make sure to pull any wires, and we'll loosen these 4 screws here on the sides. Okay, now you got those 4 screws apart, you gently pull this out, okay, and we'll set the bottom part over here and we'll set this down like that. Okay, now that you've got everything apart, what you're going to want to do is loosen this little Allen bolt right there with a 1.5 millimeter Allen wrench. Now, mine's already loose, but I'll show you kind of what happens. See how it slides up and down on that shaft? If it's not set just right at the factory, that's what can cause some jog wheels to be stiffer than others and have some side-to-side play in them. Now what I'll do is I'll pinch on the shaft and I'll put a little downward pressure onto the collar with my fingertips. It doesn't take much pressure, very little, and that'll do the job just fine. Now I'm tightening the Allen bolt up. After I get that tightened, I check it to make sure it spins freely. It spins a lot better than it did. There we go. Now, when you're done with that, what you want to do is check between this optical sensor here and the wheel to make sure there's no dust or lint or anything stuck inside there. Now, if I did see something, I'd probably just want to blow it out gently. I don't want to stick anything in there and dig around for fear of damaging something. Once you get your jog wheel assembly back together again, you want to make sure this bushing is lined up correctly. So we'll loosen these 3 screws a little bit, just enough so that it can recenter itself on that post. Check the post, it spins freely. And then we'll tighten each of these screws a little bit at a time. We'll go around, we'll make a couple passes around on them. That way we're sure that it's tight, lined up correctly. Jog wheel spins fine. Okay, so now when we put it back together, we're going to flip it over this way. We're going to hold the jog wheel assembly with one hand. That way we can kind of move it around and get the screw holes lined up correctly. Look at that, it's a lot better. Now the jog will spin more evenly.